Oh, yeah. Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL preview show, and we are going to preview Week 13, which is just about ready to start. And this is always one of the better weeks in terms of popularity. Everyone plays. Thanksgiving is in the air. There's even a Friday game this year. There's games you can't see because they're on a network that you can't get access to. So there's good, bad, and ugly in every way that you look at it. But obviously, with the holidays just beginning, this is going to be one of those ones where hopefully everybody at the end of the week after the Monday night game will go, that was a pretty good week of football. We sure had a fun time with the family. Even Grandma watched a little bit of it. But with Joey Clinkscales, our general manager, our pro personnel director and former player, and Brian LeBel, our college and NFL analyst, I'm Harper LeBel saying welcome to the show. Gentlemen, week 13. Gentlemen, start your engines. Gentlemen, do everything that you want to, but it's starting to matter a lot more. There's only 5 games left. Joey, I'll begin with you. As it gets closer to playoff time, we're going to see who has the yips and who is ready and who needs a little more time before they get ready for the playoffs.
Right. I think the teams that are out of the playoffs pretty much know who they are. Now, fortunately for the football fans, there are a lot of teams that are still in the hunt, which means the level of play will be pretty high going down the stretch because there are still a lot of teams that either have a chance or feel like they have a chance to get into the playoffs. So we're excited about where that part of the season is going down the home stretch. But as always, we're excited because the teams that really have a chance are the teams that can win on the front line, on the offensive and defensive lines. And I think the more we play football, the more evident that becomes.
You are not going to budge. You've said it for years, and you said it all year with us. You better play up front on both sides of the ball if you're going to have a chance to advance in the playoffs. And, Brian, I agree with that philosophy. But there's some teams right now. Joey mentioned the in the hunt teams. They win one, they lose one. They lose one, they lose another, then they win 2. Those are the ones that really they can't afford to lose anymore. If you want to maintain any type of playoff hopes, you got to keep winning right now. You got to turn some things around that weren't turned around earlier in the year in order for you to gain the momentum that you need to, because there's somebody that you've got to catch, and you're not going to catch them if you lose.
Yeah, for a lot of those teams, and one of those teams, jokingly, I'll say the Cincinnati Bengals probably don't like Joey's, hey, you got to win up front analogy, especially Joe Burrow coming back again. But the room for error for most of these teams is over with, right? A lot of the 3, 4, 5 win teams, it's almost like you got to be perfect the rest of the way. And because, like you said, they've been win a game, lose a game, maybe win 2 games, lose 2 games. They haven't really shown that all season. Now, the schedule may lighten up for a lot of people, but at this stage, it is what it is, right? If you look at their numbers, look at the stats, the record kind of shows what kind of football team you are. And at this point, I think it's probably the most honest depiction of what kind of football team you are.
And also, Joey, let's talk about the trap games where you've got a team that has nothing to lose. We saw the New York Giants. They've only got 2 wins on the season. They played Detroit into overtime. They had everything to win. They really didn't have anything to lose. They've already lost it. And those types of games are going to be super frustrating to the teams that absolutely have to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have to play a team like that, especially if they're trying to find themselves and play well, or they're a really young team, they're going to play out the stretch. If I'm not mistaken, the Giants play the Patriots this week. That's going to be a tough game for the Patriots because the Giants feel like they still have something to play for. They're playing with an interim head coach. The backup, the third quarterback, Jameis Winston, is playing to audition for a different team. So that you have a head coach there who is auditioning to be the head coach there. So those teams still have a lot to play for.
Absolutely. And Brian, if you don't mind me saying so, the weather really hasn't become a factor yet. It's starting to get colder. Here we are at the end of November. This week will end on December 2nd on the Monday night. We haven't seen any snow yet, but there is snow, and it might coincide with a game or 2, especially in the next couple of weeks. But for example, we're not going to feature this game. San Francisco goes to Cleveland. San Francisco has everything that they have to win in order to stay in the hunt. And Cleveland with a new quarterback. And oh, by the way, you better block Myles Garrett, or you are going to lose your football game, and you might lose your quarterback. They have nothing playoff-wise to play for, but they have everything in front of their home fans to play for.
Well, that's another team where they have a lot of young talent, a lot of guys that are, trying to earn a roster spot going forward, right? It's almost like Joey said, it's a coaching audition, but for a lot of these players too, they're trying to put tape on film, whether it's with the team they're with now or where they're trying to go next year, or even further beyond that. But it's trap games are trap games. I think you have, we've said it before. Joey, I think, talked about it on the wrap-up show last night, where coaching matters too, right? And if you have a decent enough coach, they're going to say, hey, guys, you can't play down to any of your opponents, right? You got to come out. We got to play the same way each and every week. Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation like San Francisco did last night. I think they're a much better football team than the Panthers, but it was very sloppy and they kind of played down to their competition. But, we have, like you said, we haven't seen any snow yet. It hasn't come into, hasn't really been a factor, but that's where playing stout defense up front, being able to run the football and being able to block, like Joey said, the two, the immovable objects up front, it matters, and being able to run the football matters as well.
If I were the 49ers, I would be a little bit nervous going into Cleveland, into Myles Garrett's house, because Cleveland's defense is not really bad. The offense just hadn't caught up.
Yeah,
and maybe they'll take more strides this week. But I would be nervous if I were the 49ers going into play the Browns this week.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, no one's been able to block him yet. What he picked up his 18th sack over the weekend, and if they double him, does that mean that one of the other guys is a little more free than what he had been, and somebody else can kind of pick up the slack there? But again, this isn't the feature game. It is a short week, Joey. I've played in a Turduncan game in Detroit. It's a short week. You practice today. You watch film and you prepared for your opponent. If you're Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Dallas, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and even Chicago and Philadelphia, who play on Friday, they did some prep work for their Friday night game. They watched the film from yesterday, and now they're getting themselves ready. And tomorrow they'll have a full practice. It'll be like a Thursday practice. It'll be long. They'll have goal line and short yardage installed on Wednesday, and next thing you know, they're on the road right after that practice if you're Green Bay, Kansas City, or Cincinnati, and it's time to play. So there's a lot of consistency from what you've done in the past that's going to be critically important, especially if you've got some playoffs, and both Green Bay and Detroit have that on the line. So let's begin. Let's talk a little bit about this game. Green Bay at 1 o'clock on Thursday. Again, this is their Turduncan game. When John Madden and Summerall used to always do the Detroit game on Fox, this is also the Fox game. 7-3-1 Green Bay takes on Detroit, who is 7-4. Guess what, gentlemen? Nobody can afford to lose this game. Joy, I'll start with you. What's on the line here for the Lions?
Well, for the Lions, I think it's a momentum booster. I mean, everybody's chasing Chicago right now. And I think the Lions probably have as good a chance to win the division as Green Bay, to be quite honest with you, because offensively they can play and defensively they're improving. And, Jordan Love on the Packers has, while he hadn't played terrible, he just hadn't played real consistent at times. Defensively, the Packers are really good. I mean, Parsons, he has 10 sacks already, so he's coming along. But Detroit needs to continue they need to find a way, especially in this game, to continue to be multifaceted as far as vertically throwing the ball down the field, being able to get the ball into Gibbs' hands, because he's if not the most explosive playmaker in our league right now. I don't know who he is. So he's a special talent. So you have guys that you can get the ball to, difference makers, and that's what they'll need to do this week versus the Packers on Thanksgiving.
All right, talk a little bit about Green Bay. What's on the line for them? They're only a half a game behind the Lions right now. They win that, they leapfrog them, and then obviously they still have to catch Chicago. But I pulled these numbers, and Joey, I'll stick with you just for one more second. Jordan Love, 67% in his completion ratio, 2,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's been sacked 17 times. Jared Goff on the other side, 69%, so a little better, 2,769 yards, a couple hundred yards more, 23 touchdowns, but he's been sacked 23 times. The Lions, in my opinion, their strength and their forte is their offensive line, and it hasn't protected them as well as they have in the past.
Well, just going back to those numbers, technically Jordan Love has better numbers than Jared Goff. And to watch the game, you wouldn't necessarily think that, so numbers can be a little bit deceiving sometimes. Jordan Love has had problems with the receivers holding on to the ball as well, too. I mean, he's had probably as many drops this season as anyone by that receiving core.
Sure. Yeah.
But, they can really run the ball just like Detroit can. Hopefully, their best runner, Jacobs, would be back this week and being able to play on Thursday night. But, again, this would be a really interesting game because there's something on the line. Everybody's chasing Chicago, and they have a chance to get probably 3 teams from this division into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tight race. You could get 3 in the West, so that'll all have to pan itself out. But Brian, we'll start with Detroit, the home team. Joey mentioned the momentum. Obviously, the home crowd. I've played there on numerous occasions. They used to boo them if they got behind before the half, or they boo them off the field. They literally did that, and then Barry Sanders would turn something on. The next thing you know, they were cheering again. This is a different crowd. They've got a depth in their voice. They know that they're better. They know that they're good, and there's a reason to cheer for them. But it's not the fans, it's the team. They've had some inconsistencies. Tell me what you think Detroit needs to do in order to take care of this one on a short week.
Well, they need to be cautious because if you go back, these teams haven't played each other since week 1. It's a pretty significant gap. I think it's a 12-week gap since they've played each other. So a lot of things have changed, right? Health changes, whatever else. But the Packers dominated the Lions in that game. They're up 2 scores for the majority of it. They almost lost by 3 scores, but they ended up scoring a garbage time touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs is the catalyst on this offense. A lot to cheer for when he's on the field. He's been spectacular. If you watch his highlights on Sunday, it's what he's able to do. The dimension he's able to add to what the Lions are trying to do on offense is just really, I've said, I think there's only a handful of guys in the league that I put above him as far as talent, as far as production. But Green Bay manhandled him up front. Goff didn't have a lot of time. There's a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short yardage. I think they're going to have to, you always have to scheme for Parsons, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where when you see each other as much as these 2 teams do, right, that you kind of have each other's number, and talent comes into factor more so, especially within the division. But you said the offensive line, they've lost a couple guys, right? They've had some injuries, they've been banged up a little bit up front, but I think it's time for the road graders to come back if you're the Lions. They played well last week against the Giants. The defense, it's not great. We complimented their front 4, which is really kind of the only part of their offense and defense that's any good. And they were able to exploit some things, but the defense looked kind of iffy as well. It's a short week, and Campbell does as good a job as anybody is making sure his guys are prepared. But this is kind of a show me game for Detroit, especially because what Green Bay was able to do at their place week 1, they need to get back at them. And with the next game, we're going to talk about the Bears being on the road at Philadelphia. This is a tremendous opportunity for both these teams to put themselves back at the forefront of the division. Well,
Green Bay, let's just take a quick look at their numbers. In terms of their overall passing per game, 222 yards, they're 14th in the league there. Rushing, they're 116 yards per game. They're 15th in the league there. Points for, 23.9. They're 13th, just a little bit better than average. Points against at 18.4, they're 5th. So really the defense is keeping them in it. And Joey, you know as well as anybody that 1, defense wins championships. 2, the defensive line is as good as anything. They're stout, and it's going to be difficult to score on them. Will that come into play here? Obviously, everyone will want to know that for Detroit here on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. Excuse me.
Absolutely. And I think if Detroit can run the ball, they'll have a great chance in this game because that'll open up the passing game. Detroit, their offensive line, as Brian had mentioned, they are not the same road grading physical offensive line because of injury, because one of the guys retired in off season. They aren't the same line as they were last year, and it shows up a lot of the time. But anytime there's a seam or a crease to be had and Gibbs has the ball, you better hold on to your helmet tight because he's got a chance to go the distance. But
you better go get some speed and conditioning training because he's going to fly right by you if you don't pay attention.
Better take a good angle.
Yeah. Here's Detroit's number. I gave Green Bay's 238 yards passing. That's 8th in the league. Rushing, they're 139. They're 3rd in the league in rushing right now. 29.6 points per game. That's 2nd in the league. And then points against, they're at 22.1. That's 12. So it looks like their offense is much better. the defense is not as good as what Green Bay has. This should be one heck of a game. Again, it's at 1:00 on Thursday, right about the time that the mom, grandma, and everybody else is going to go. You better get out of the kitchen and don't you dare eat any of those rolls right now. Those are for dinner. All right. Second game that we're going to look at is at 4:30. Kansas City travels to Dallas. Joey, I'm a little concerned on this. Doesn't Kansas City earn the right to have their own game? It was always the 8:00 game, but how many years in a row did they have one there in Kansas City that they were able to play for, the last game of the evening? I know there were times where it was a little cold outside, and even I didn't want to watch. It was too cold. But now they've got to travel, and they lose their spot. Do you know anything about that in terms of the scheduling?
No, I don't. Supposedly, the schedule is done by a computer.
Okay.
So the all the analytics are put in and everything that they're trying to accomplish, and then they spit out a schedule for everybody. So,
well, we all know that Detroit and Dallas have owned that spot in
Correct.
the number 1 and number 2 game on Thursday.
Correct.
When they added that third game, gosh, probably a decade, a little bit more than that. I thought Kansas City and then Baltimore, which will host a game, have been the two. They all want to have an AFC city for obvious reasons. They want to balance it out a little bit. But anyways, Kansas City 6-5. We spoke about them yesterday. Really desperation times for them. But if there's any team that is set for that in today's football, it's obviously the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 6-5. They're second in passing, 14th in rushing. They are 9th in scoring and 4th at 18.3 in giving up points per game. Joey, do they have what it takes on a short week to be able to go into a very hot Dallas organization and city and play there in Jerry's world and get themselves their 7th win?
I believe that Kansas City will win this game. And the reasons why, I think Mahomes will be indoors. Those guys, those fast outside receivers on the edge will be even faster because they're indoors. Rice will free up the inside along with Kelsey. If they can find a way to run the ball like they did last week, it will be even better. Last week was the best they ran the ball all year. They were committed to the run with Hunt, and they did a really good job. I think the short week will affect the Cowboys a lot more than it affected the Chiefs because the Chiefs are a more veteran team. They were able to get some offensive linemen back last week to play. And again, I'm not besmirching the Cowboys in any manner because I think their defensive line has improved. Their linebacker play has improved, which in turn helps their secondary because if you can get after the passer, you can do that. But I think Kansas City has the offensive line when healthy, especially on the interior with Trey Smith and the center and the other guard to handle some of the big guys that Dallas have inside. So I think, in my opinion, Kansas City has a great opportunity to go into Dallas and win.
Well, Brian, I've seen Dallas, 3 times this year, pull a rabbit out of their hat at home. Maybe not necessarily as good a team on the road, but that game against the Giants earlier in the year, they ended up with a tie against Green Bay in a game that I didn't think they had any chance to win at all. And then just this last week, they're down by 21 points against Philadelphia, one of the best teams in the league, and they end up coming back and winning that one 24-21. I'm not saying who's going to win or lose. I'm just saying that is definitely something that has to be taken into consideration. Real quick, they're 5-1, obviously. They've got the number 1 passing team in the league, right? 266 yards a game. Dak has just been stupendous here this whole year. They're 12th in rushing. They're 4th in scoring. And if I just left that number alone for you, I could give you all the reasons why I think that Dallas is going to win. But I have to give you their points against per game. They give up 28.5. They are 31st out of 32 teams in the league. Their kryptonite right now is their defense.
Yeah, and if you watch the game on Sunday, Philadelphia kind of beat themselves a little bit too. I'll give Dallas credit because they played Philly really tight in the opener. It was a weird game, right? They had that weather delay. They had to come back out, and they fought. Anytime you're going to go play at a team on opening night when they're hoisting their banner and you can play them close like that, that's kudos to you, and I'm gonna tip my hat to you. But the Green Bay game kind of opened up my eyes because they played with the Packers. Now, that's the best the Packers offense has looked all season. You talked about it. The scoring defense for Dallas is horrendous. They're not good in any capacity. But I think they figured some stuff out schematically. I think they've moved some guys around Like Joey said, they added Quinnen Williams from the Jets. I think that was a tremendous addition. The numbers probably don't show it, but if you turn on the tape and you watch what he's able to do up front, he adds another element to what they're trying to do as far as replacing Micah Parsons. But Dak's playing as good as anybody in the league at the quarterback position. They got a two-headed monster at receiver. I know Joey said right now, I think George Pickens is the one and CD's kind of 1B, right? Especially because, he's missed some time. But Jake Ferguson's been tremendous. Javonte Williams was kind of a castaway last year from Denver, and he's been just a huge spark for this offense. But I think you got to give the edge to the Chiefs, like Joey said. I think they're very, very good, and their backs are up against the wall. Dallas has their back up against the wall as well. But I think this game is going to be a close one. I think Dallas has played up to their competition. We've kind of ragged on some teams, some good teams are playing down to their competition. But I think the Cowboys are kind of the opposite, where they've kind of played up to the competition when it's presented itself. But honestly, I think this might be the game of the day. I think this is a chance to be a very, very good football game. It could be a shootout, right? If Mahomes and Prescott they get rolling, I think it could be a lot of fun. But Kansas City's defense is very stout. They're very good. The offense has been subpar a lot of the year, and the defense has been consistent and kept them in it. But anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys win it. But defensively, the numbers obviously that you put up there, they do scare me a little bit. And if Philadelphia, if they didn't beat themselves in the second half, it was 21-0 midway through the second quarter. They just kind of couldn't figure it out on their own. I think they could have beat them on Sunday.
Well, 6-5, Kansas City ends up traveling to 5-1, Dallas. Both teams desperately need a win. This will have playoff implications, at least in my opinion, for the winner to be able to continue and still have a hope with a long way to go to catch up. It's a 4:30 kick. It's on CBS. The third game of the evening. We've looked at two of them thus far. We're not going to really go into Cincinnati at Baltimore, but 3-8 Cincinnati travels to Baltimore. Baltimore 6-5. They're on a 5-game winning streak. That's an 8:20 kick, and that will be on NBC and the Peacock Network. So M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore will be hosting that one. So three great games for everybody to watch there on Thursday. And we have a Friday game this year. Gentlemen, we'll look at the Chicago Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. Normally for me, this is a college NCAA Friday only rivalry week and big games, playoff implication, et cetera. But the NFL has kind of stepped in, if you will, and put their foot in the door of the office and said, we're here as well. Chicago 8-3, Philadelphia 8-3. This is at Lincoln Financial. Playoff implications for two first place teams here, Joey. I think Chicago has a little more nervousness in terms of going in there, but I think they also have the ability, if they relax and just go, we're going to let things happen. We haven't been in this position for a very long time, so we're new to it, and come watch us play.
Yeah, this would be an interesting game for Chicago. Chicago has a lot to play for, and the Eagles have a lot to play for. And I'm not just speaking about playoff seeding. I'm talking about from the Bears standpoint. You have to assume that you have to assume that the Eagles' defensive line is going to be mad and hungry and coming after Caleb for sure. And they have to find a way. The Bears have to find a way to run the ball effectively, because if all Caleb is forced to do is pin his ear, is drop back in the pocket, then the Eagles will pin their ears back and they're going to come after him and they're going to continue with the pressure all day long. But if he can sustain that, the Eagles had some injuries in the secondary, and they had safeties playing corner against the Cowboys and all kind of foolishness, and they can take advantage of that. From the Eagles' point of view, they really have to figure out this offense. They really have, because the second half was not very good, and Hurts' numbers weren't very bad during the game last week. But again, we're talking about continuity. The running back only rushed for 15 yards last week, 20 yards. So they really have to find out how they can fix their run game, which will help their pass game, and obviously, keep the receivers happy. And that's a whole nother story. It seems like when one of the receivers have a big game, then they lose that game. So this will be an interesting game from the standpoint of continuity for both teams. And I think we'll know where Chicago is. If Chicago come out of this game with a win, we'll feel really good about them. They'll feel really good about themselves as they can beat anybody. Whereas if the Eagles win this game, they'll feel like they're getting back on track. I don't think the upside is as big for the Eagles as it will be for the Bears if the Bears win this game.
Real quick, Joey, would it be fair to say then if the Eagles win, they go, okay, it's not where we need it yet, but we're still here. We're fine. Well, we win.
I think they'll say that if they win and offensively they look like the Eagles from last year, or and that's going to be difficult because they've had so many injuries on the offensive line.
Okay, fair enough. Brian, I want you to go back with me for a second. We've been pretty critical for the Falcons for a few years. Do you remember, let's say it's Arthur Smith, the head coach, his first or second year, Falcons and the Bears were number 1, number 2 in rushing. And each and every week, we could rush the ball, couldn't throw it. Neither team could. And it's great to be number 1 or number 2, but you didn't have any wins. The reason I bring this up is because the number 2 team in the league right now at 142 yards per game on the ground is the Chicago Bears. They're still running the ball well, but they're 12th in the league right now at 227 yards passing. They've really developed, in Caleb's maturity now and his ability to he doesn't have to win the game on every throw, but the way Ben Johnson has been coaching him, he's improved drastically, but that run game aspect is still there, and that is going to come into play outdoors in Philadelphia, outdoors in Soldier Field. They score 26 points per game, but just like what I was mentioning with the Cowboys, they give up 26.5. They're 27th in the league in terms of that category. Talk a little bit about Chicago and what impresses you and what you're concerned about if you're a Bears fan.
Well, they've had some late game heroics. They've won a lot of games, close games, and they've won a lot of games late. The game this past week against the Steelers is a perfect example. They ran the ball decently well. It wasn't great, but it was good enough to get the job done. Got to tip your cap to Caleb because he's done a really good job. Ben Johnson, this is his first year in Ben Johnson's scheme, right? And a lot of times it's very, very difficult to acclimate to a new system. They kind of had to relearn a lot of things, and I think Ben Johnson deserves a lot of credit as well because I think he saw the roster they have. He probably goes to Caleb and asks him what he specifically likes to do, what he feels comfortable doing, and they've worked around it. They've sort of come together the last couple of weeks. This offense has started clicking a little bit more. What Joey said, though, the defensive front for the Eagles, especially coming off a loss, especially at home, this is a big game for them, right? This is the only game on. It's prime time. They play their best football in prime time. This is still a very, very solid team, and they're going to look to prove that it was just a hiccup last week. So the concerns for the Chicago Bears, I think Caleb making mistakes, right? He still has those plays where it's almost like he's doing a little too much. He had another one on Sunday that led to a defensive touchdown for the Steelers. I need him to play a clean football game. I need the run game to stay consistent like it's been all year for them. And I need the receivers. I need DJ Moore. I need Luther Burden. I need Colson Loveland. I need these guys to be a little more consistent, get open a little bit more, and take some pressure off their young quarterback. And then the obvious one, like we say all the time, what Joey said, the front five, the offensive line's got to play a big game for Chicago if they want to win on Friday.
I gave you the numbers for Chicago. Brian, I'm going to ask you first, and then Joey, same question. Philadelphia at 8-3. Passing, Philadelphia, they're 23rd in the league. Running, they're 21st in the league. Scoring, they're 17th. They're below average. They're below that Mendoza line. But defensively, they only give up 24.5 points a game. They're 8th. So they're almost the exact opposite of what we were talking about with Dallas, what we're talking about with Chicago. Their offense is kind of stymied, but their defense is still stout. What are your thoughts here about Philadelphia and having that dynamic, being below average in running and passing, and then still having a good enough defense to be able to keep you in every ball game?
I think at this juncture, and I've said it before, I think they kind of are what they are on offense, right? Like it's just what they've shown us all year. It's been 11 games, right? It's not like a hiccup through the first month. It's not even halfway through. You're going to deal with injuries. Everybody does it. Lane Johnson's a big one, obviously, but this is a football team that if you go back and watch the Super Bowl tape, they dismantled a very, very good Kansas City defense. Jalen Hurts was spectacular in that game. They threw the ball all over the yard. They could run it. They did everything with purpose. And now if you watch them on offense, they look a little out of sync, a little out of sorts. It's a lot of, kind of skittishness, and not quite sure what's going on. We talked about it last night. There's a lot of short passing in this offense. There's not a lot of verticality. There's not a lot of, A.J. Brown has been complaining all season. We got to throw the ball downfield. But one of the highlights of this is if you look at Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley's rushing numbers, they're significantly down from where they were last year.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big test for Philadelphia. I think we're going to find out where the Chicago Bears truly are. I think they deserve to be 8-3, but this is kind of especially for seeding, right? Because the winner of this game, I believe, is the 2 seed in the NFC. So there's a lot on the line here. I think you give the edge to the Eagles, but mostly on the fact that they've been here before and they've won these big games. But Chicago's a young team. They're new to this environment. They're new to this, this sort of atmosphere of it's almost playoff-like. Not quite, but we're getting close to it. And I'm interested to see what the Bears do. But Philly's offense, I think at this point, I don't know if you can fix it. I think it is what it is.
Joey, same question to you. The offense with Philadelphia, subpar, at least to what we're used to. However, defensively, they're still playing at a high level. They're not the number one team defensively in the league, but they're sure pretty dang close, and they play that way every week.
Well, offensively, I think if Dan Campbell were the coach of the Eagles, he would have already taken over the offensive play calling. Okay, because this offense is very elementary, rudimentary, whatever you want to call it. It's been, like I said, I've seen 7-on-7 camps that had a better offense philosophy than what the Eagles are playing with right now. That being said, defensively, they are a really good team. Now they're having some issues in the secondary with injuries, which will affect them, especially if Caleb can really get going and have enough time to get the ball down the field. But their defense can carry the day, especially their front four. They can carry the day, and they really do have one or two really good linebackers, and they have a safety, hopefully that will play more safety this week than corner. So I expect the Eagles to win at home on a Thanksgiving Eve. On that night. So I do think they will have enough to win at home. But again, Chicago's capable if they can find a way to give Caleb time to get the ball out of his hands down the field, then they do have a fighting chance.
Yeah, and the neat thing about even if Chicago loses, and I'm not saying they will, they've got a game to lose with the Detroit-Green Bay game taking place the day before. They'll certainly know where they stand, but they'll still be in first place regardless. All right, guys, let's look at some of the other games. Sunday is a full day, except for the 4 games that have been played previously, and there'll be a Monday nighter. But San Francisco goes to Cleveland. Jacksonville is at Tennessee. Houston at Indianapolis. Colts coming off a loss. The Texans coming off an important win. We're not going to feature this. Anyone have anything to say about this? I think it'll be very interesting at home to see how the Colts rebound from last week's loss, especially when Houston has to win this in order to stay viable for a wild card position.
I think it's a really big game for the Colts because I think Houston will come in with some momentum after what they did at home. Defensively, they're the number one defense in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So they're coming after Daniel Jones, okay? Their philosophy will be just like everybody else who's beat Indianapolis' philosophy has been. We're going to try to stop the run game, and we're going to make Daniel Jones beat us. So I think if that happens, Houston will definitely pin the ears back of those pass rushers, and they're coming. I mean, they had 8 sacks versus Buffalo last week, so they're coming. They're coming. If they can find a way to stop the run, they're coming.
Brian, anything to add to
that? Houston's a lot like Philadelphia, except I think their defense is a little better. The offense has been not great, but I mean, when you're starting quarterbacks out, when you're banged up in the receiver room, when your running back room is banged up, it's hard to find consistency. But credit to DeMeco Ryans because this team was dead in the water a month ago, and the defense has kept him in football games. I mean, they outright won the game for him Thursday night against a very good Buffalo offense. But they're a team that's I don't think anybody would want to play them in the playoffs, right? I just don't think anyone want to see the Houston Texans say, please, Indianapolis, win this game. Let's brush the Texans aside because when you have the number one defense, you're always in it, right? They're always in the game. They're playing a lot of teams very, very closely. But I think we'll find out a lot about the Colts too. Coming off of a loss, it's a game they have to win to kind of keep pace in the AFC too, right? Because if the Texans win and the Colts the Colts lose, it's the Texans are 2 for 1. They get to gain a game on Indianapolis, and the Broncos and the Patriots will be happy to see it.
Just real quick, the Colts are 7th in the league in passing. They're 4th in the league in rushing. They get 138 yards. They're 1st in scoring at 31.0. The Texans are 2nd in defense, 16.5 points per game. So That's a pretty interesting thing. But the Colts are ninth. They're not that far behind. They give up 20.8 points a game. They're number 9 in the league with that. A couple other games. New Orleans goes to Miami. Atlanta will be at the New York Jets. Arizona is at Tampa Bay. Real quick, injuries obviously just devastating to Tampa right now. Joey, any updates or anything like that? I mean, is anybody coming back, or are they going to play with 12 guys on the whole roster that are going to be active?
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm going to assume that Teddy Bridgewater is going to start, although Baker's shoulder was just it wasn't a dislocation. It was kind of a
separation.
Left shoulder too, not his throwing one.
Not his throwing shoulder. So there's an outside chance that he can play, but I think to be safe, they'll probably start Bridgewater. They did have one of the receivers get back last week, so it'll be interesting to see how they play this week. Defensively, really, to be quite honest with you, defensively is where they have to get better. Last few weeks, they haven't played great defensively.
Yeah. I don't think Vita Vea's name's been called once in the last 2 weeks. It's been kind of bad for Tampa up front.
Yeah. In Arizona, we've talked about them most of the year, how close some of their losses have been. If you add them all up, I mean, they've got a croaker sack full of games that were 2, 3, 4-point differences. Maybe they go into Tampa and go, hey, we got nothing to lose, so let's not lose. 1 o'clock kick for there. The Rams go to Carolina. And if Tampa loses and Carolina loses in the NFC inept South Division, it'll be interesting to see how no one wants to win that division. But I see the Rams going in. And the biggest problem, and Joey, you would know this, I've seen it happen. West Coast teams, they come out to the East Coast, and it takes them a full half before they wake up and they start playing. But watch out for them in the third quarter if they have a bad first half. Yeah,
so maybe the Rams will leave a extra day early. You know, it's a lot easier to leave an extra day earlier coming to Carolina and being okay than leaving an extra day early and going to New York or Miami. You know, those are real trap games when you have to do that going from the West Coast to the East Coast. So maybe they'll do that. They'll get out a little bit earlier and get the guys off their feet, get acclimated to the time change, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, because it's an early start, obviously, for West Coasters. It's at 10 a.m., so you're getting up at 5 in the morning, technically, if you want to go to chapel and get a bite to eat. Those are the last of the 1 o'clock games. At 4:05, Minnesota goes to Seattle. Seattle is looking very good. They want to stay competitive. And then the fourth game that we're going to look at is Buffalo at Pittsburgh. This is a 4:25 kick. It's on CBS. I saw a guy at the grocery store today wearing a Buffalo shirt, and I go, "You all right?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "No, are you all right?" And he goes, "I don't know." So it'd be interesting to see. 7-4 Buffalo. They are 9th in the league in passing. They're first in rushing. I forgot that they were as good as they were, and they're rushing 147 yards. They are 5th in scoring. They're 17th in points given up. Going against Pittsburgh, who's 6-5. Pittsburgh is 22nd in passing, 27th in rushing. That's unheard of for the Steelers. They're 11th in scoring, and they're 20th at 23.9 in points given up. Joey, I'll start with you. How do the Pittsburgh Steelers stay as relevant when their numbers show that they shouldn't even be in a playoff picture at all?
Well, everything you have said has manifested on the field at some point in time. Their lack of defensive continuity at times, their inability to run the ball consistently, the fact that they really aren't a vertical passing team down the field.
They don't have any verticality.
Their verticality is very limited. They have
verticality. Okay, that's not good.
They got the tallest receiver in the league in Darnell Washington, but yes, they have limited verticality.
Yeah, but if they get the ball to Darnell Washington, then they become the most physical team in the league.
Yes,
the ball. That's for sure. But they just have a multitude of things that seem to manifest at the wrong time. When they're throwing the ball well, they aren't running the ball well. And when they're doing that, they aren't playing great defense. Then they'll play great defense, and then offensively, we look like crap. So it's a mixture of things all going wrong at different times. But at least they're a little better at home. Okay, and Buffalo, I don't know when's the last time they've been into Pittsburgh. It'll be tough for Buffalo there because if the defensive line comes to play for the Steelers, they've watched what Buffalo's weaknesses are. The Steelers secondary is kind of average to partly cloudy. I put it in weather terms at times. But if they can get a rush and make Josh do some uncharacteristic things, then they'll have a chance.
Your thoughts, Brian, on the verticality issue?
Well, a lot of people said TJ Watt had some verticality issues coming out, but he's been very, very good. And I think he's licking his chops watching the Texans film from last week. I think that's where the Steelers are going to have to win this game. I think they're going to have to pressure Josh Allen. James Cook, who doesn't get mentioned a lot, kind of an underrated running back. His numbers are always spectacular, but he's a huge part of what Buffalo does offensively. And I think they're going to try to have to get him off his spot, get him out of rhythm, because the receiving room for this Buffalo team is not very good. They just signed Brandon Cooks today, I believe, and they're still trying to figure some stuff out. I think Dalton Kincaid might play in this game. I'm not 100% certain, but Pittsburgh's got to win with their strength, and that's defense, right? It's been their strength for forever, really. It's never been a point where they haven't been a defensive first team, even when they had Roethlisberger and the Killer Bees and everything back then. But this is a game, depending on if Rodgers plays or not, too. We still don't know. It's looking like he might play. It's if you ask him, he'll probably tell you yes. Tomlin's leaning yes, but I don't think we'll know until maybe the day before. Two teams that are kind of reeling a little bit, right? A couple of bad losses and, still trying to figure some stuff out. They're still in the playoff hunt. I think Buffalo obviously having a win up on Pittsburgh is a little bit cleaner, but this is really a must-win game for both teams here. And I think we're going to find out a lot of what Pittsburgh is made of. Joey, you said they really haven't been able to put it all together at any point, but at some point you have to, right? If you're a good offensive team in any capacity, and if you're good on defense, at some point you got to hopefully put it together and play 4 complete quarters. And this would be a really good week for them to do that.
Yeah, Joey, I had a follow-up question with you from a general manager standpoint. When you've got, let's say, Aaron Rodgers or Baker Mayfield, who's still kind of iffy. We're not sure whether or not the guy's 100%. We know he's not 100, but is he good enough to be able to go? How much of that is the trainer? I mean, I think the trainers they always have the final call. Look, he can't play, he's out. And you have to abide by that. But if it's kind of a 50-50 or questionable or even doubtful, I'm sure it depends on each team, but would you rather have him not play and risk losing now versus having him play and then be injured, or wait a week and know that he'll be significantly better and be able to go more full speed, even though maybe not 100%?
Well, yes, the trainers and the team doctors, not necessarily the trainer, but the team doctors will have most of the time the final decision. Now, sometimes if it's a pain tolerance issue, then that's a little different. The player will have, if it's just a pain tolerance issue, the player will have the final decision. But that being said, Aaron Rodgers is a little different, because now you're talking about a 41-year-old quarterback, and you have to decide if he can protect himself. It's one thing being able to throw the ball. I'm not concerned about him being able to throw the ball. It's with a fractured wrist is when he falls, because inevitably they're going to take a shot at him. Okay, when he goes down to fall, if he tries to protect himself with the off wrist, now you're talking about re-injuring the wrist. So the question is not, is he healthy enough to play? It's, can he protect himself when he's out on the field? And I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah. And how cleanly can he either take a snap under center or a shotgun snap if he's wearing a cast, even if it's a soft one, that wraps around his thumb? And there's some things that they're working on, obviously, but be interesting to see how that takes place. 7-4 Buffalo, 6-5 Pittsburgh. Again, a 4:25 kick there. That game is on CBS. The Las Vegas Raiders will be at SoFi Stadium. They'll take on the LA Chargers. The Chargers had a bye week last week, so they should have some fresh legs. That's a 4:25 start on CBS as well. And then Denver, who had a bye, at Washington, who had a bye. That's an 8:20 game. So Denver won't be getting home till about 5 or 6 in the morning. And then the Monday night game is New York at New England. Patriots are 9-2, and that's an 8:15 kick on ESPN. Any final thoughts, guys, before we go and just give our blessings on Week 13?
No, I would just say again, I think the Browns and the
Niners
49ers game is going to be the sneaky game, because coming out to the East Coast, Midwest,
Short week too.
Short week, playing a young team, young quarterback who's trying to find his legs, who's got something to play for at home. Then You have that monster on defense, a defensive line that had 10 sacks last week, not 8, like the other team. They had 10. So hey, you can double them, you can triple them, but somebody else has the ability to get sacks too. So I think that's going to be the sneaky game of the week.
Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a couple games that have real potential. I think this is going to be a good week in general. I think there's a lot of good teams playing each other. A lot of bad teams playing each other too, so we could see maybe some of those games panning out to being close and competitive. But watch the NFC South, man. We might be in a position where everybody's under 500, 500 or worse after this Sunday, and that's business as usual down here in the South.
Again,
yeah.
And I say that with kind of tongue in cheek. Again,
let's have an 8-9 playoff team. Let's host a playoff game at 8-9. Let's do it.
Yeah,
love it.
8-9 going against a team that's 12-5 or something like that. Well, we've taken a little bit of a glimpse at this weekend's games. They start on Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And if you've got family members that are spending all the money on Black Friday, you still have a game to go see, and that would be at 3 o'clock with Chicago and Philadelphia. College games all day on Saturday, and then Sunday, a full matchup. No bye weeks for any teams this week. There'll be 4 teams that have a bye next week, but for obvious reasons, the league wants everybody playing here on Thanksgiving weekend. So we appreciate it. For Joey Clinkscales, for Brian LeBel, I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in to the NFL Week 13 preview show. Thank you for being a part of that.